So as we were
trying to remember how to do this,
getting ready for the beginning of this, we looked at each other and said, oh my gosh, all these people that we know who are having surgery tomorrow. So we're beginning tonight's devotion feeling a little bit of the heaviness of some of the things that are happening in the lives of people that we know and love and care about. So I just want to acknowledge it now because it seems important to both of us and I don't want to forget. So I just want to say to everybody who knows Ron and Barbara Timmermans, keep them in your prayers tomorrow. Ron's having surgery, and Don and Dana Blevins as Don has surgery tomorrow. Lord be with them.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. We have an entire devotion filled of fun, joyful, silly things that we hope will perk you up, but isn't it always mixed in with heavy stuff? It always is.
I'm staying silent.
She's staying silent.
Well, it's a wonderful blessing to be married to a pastor, but Lordy, sometimes you hear a lot of grief and things people are going through, and when you're feeling kind of loose and relaxed, only takes a few phone calls. Seems to be a lot more lately. I don't know,
Things.
not just COVID, but other things are popping up.
Yes.
Okay, we can do this.
Yes.
Because it's about Grinch anyway,
Yes.
so.
Yes. And aren't we all really kind of adept at the dance between acknowledging and feeling the heaviness of life and also the joy and the hope that our faith brings us? And so you're a better dancer than I am.
Well,
So we can do this. We can do both. We can say the Lord be with those who are having a very difficult week and an anxious week. And also we can embrace and celebrate what's going to get them and all of us through it, right?
I have to share that our oldest daughter is a sonogram tech and works for OB-GYNs in the Frisco Plano area, and I was talking to her today, and she has just been busy doing one sonogram after another, and I went, oh my God, or these, so she does babies and issues, and she said,
Babies? We don't want to talk about babies at Christmas time.
She said they're all babies.
That's a
all,
joke.
I said,
Babies at Christmas?
she was listing off how many people she sees in a day, and they're all pregnant, and I counted back, and that would have been probably around April when the pandemic started. And I went, oh my God, there's a baby boom. And she laughed and she said, yes, there is. She's come up with this theory that a lot of her friends are having, knowing people who are getting divorced. So she said, I think this pandemic is either causing divorce or babies. Good or bad, so that's her theory. But there's a baby boom right now. That's a good thing.
Right. And that's a perfect metaphor for what we just started out with, that life is a mixture of heaviness and loss and sadness and brokenness and hope and new life. And it's all mixed in together, and you get to hear a little bit of all of that.
Yes.
As our entire lives, right? Almost every single day of our life has a mixture of all that. So we wanted to say hi before we jumped into things, and I have Ruth's phone to help me to do that. So that gives me a chance to say to Kathy Reset and Peggy Davidson, hello, and Julie Honda from California, hello. So good to I'm so glad you guys could join us. And Lynn Evanson and Marilyn Shapiro and Rhonda, Linda Martzel and Laverne.
Oh, that's a high school friend of mine.
Is it?
You don't know her, yeah.
Laverne Box. I didn't recognize her last name. Yeah. And Karen Allen, I keep hitting the live button and the dang thing won't load. What am I doing wrong? You're asking the wrong person. I have no idea how any of this works. I tell people all the time, when I put in my debit card wrong and they say do it the other way and I put it in wrong, and I say there's a 50-50 chance I get it right, and every time I put it in it's wrong, that I'm a 20th century guy who lived too long into the 21st century. But Gail is with us, and Val Hicks and Donna Weisel. Welcome. I'm so glad you guys could join us. Even if we just see your names, it makes us feel a little more connected during a time when a lot of us feel sort of apart. So we took a break from doing these late night devotions, but a lot has gone on since the last time we did a devotion, and I wanted to brag on my wife, Ruth Foster, because as I was trying to think, what could I share with you that was remarkable or inspiring since the last time we had a chance to chat online? It was what she did for Thanksgiving. She discovered how to make mini pies.
It's really not that hard.
Well,
but it was fun. I made tons of them. Isn't that exciting? And we didn't have anyone really for Thanksgiving, so they're in my freezer. And you can eat them. You can eat them frozen. Frozen pumpkin little pies work. So
we had pumpkin, chocolate, pecan, it was apple, and apple, little mini pies. So you could eat 2 or 3 different kinds of pie.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of fun.
And now I'm 10 pounds heavier than I was last March, so I'm trying to be good again, as of yesterday.
Yeah.
2 days.
So we're doing a 3-week series this month, and it's all around Christmas. And to kick it off, and we chose a song title for each week. And this first one is You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. And the metaphor isn't that difficult to understand, but we thought it would be fun to play for you just a part of the famous song, because those of you who live in Arlington, Texas, and have attended Shepherd of Life, you might recognize who sings a part of this song. So it's about 40-some seconds long. I'm going to play it to get us in the mood, and you tell me or put in your comments if you can figure out who is singing.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. You're as cuddly as a cactus. You're as charming as an eel, Mr. Grinch. I wouldn't touch you with a 39.5-foot pole. You're a foul one, Mr. Grinch. You're a nasty, wasty skunk. Your heart is full of unwashed socks. Your soul is full of gunk, Mr. Grinch. Mr. Grinch, the 3 best words that best describe you are as follows, and I quote, stink, stink, stunk.
And we couldn't play the original because we learned early on that if you actually play something that's copyrighted, Facebook will knock you off. So we had to have someone from our congregation do their best impression of Boris Karloff. But does anybody... Oh, look!
Do they know?
They were guessing John Gannon.
Oh.
Kathy guessed John Gannon. Val guessed John Gannon. Oh! Marilyn Shapiro, how in the heck do you remember David Umbaugh? That is amazing that your memory is still that good. Because you're like as old as I am.
because you're old.
And you just talked
nice.
to Loretta today?
Yeah.
So David is still hanging in there and doing fine, but it wasn't David,
Okay,
although he
keep
has a
going.
deep voice.
Keep going.
Well, I mean,
I
we
think
should just
you
say.
need to just tell them.
Yeah, it was
Great.
our PhD math professor at UTA, David Jorgensen.
Which has grown a beard down to here, and he looks like a mountain man now.
Yeah,
A lot of guys do that
yeah,
since the pandemic. They've grown these bushy beards. I kind of like it.
yeah. So it's David Jorgensen. So I'm going to tell you, before we explain, not in excruciating detail, but just make the connection and connect the dots, for those of you who may not see it quickly or automatically, that Dr. Seuss wrote How the Grinch Stole Christmas in 1957. I was
Wow.
1 year old. And in 1966, I did a little research. That's when the animated cartoon came out, and it was narrated by Boris Karloff. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Boris Karloff. Oh my God! And when I was a kid, I loved to watch scary movies. Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
Was
John, you're going to go
Frankenstein.
down at Death
Bela Lugosi,
You're going
Dracula,
down a different
Lon Chaney Jr., the werewolf. Okay.
Okay, come on
All right.
back.
All right. So I don't know, what were we talking about?
Hey,
I don't
hand me
understand.
the Grinch.
Oh, okay.
We use these for props. Do you see this? John, both these props we have are really dog toys that our grand dogs, all four of them, have chewed on, and they're gross. But there you go.
Yeah. So the theme is that just as the Grinch, because his heart was 3 times too small, tried to steal Christmas from all the who's in Whoville, that in a sense, that's the personification of the pandemic, which is, in a sense, robbing us of some of the things that we love about Christmas. But just as the Grinch failed, because even though he took all their decorations and their food and their presents, they still sang. We, because of our faith, have the ability to say, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to steal our joy and our hope, because it isn't dependent upon all the things that we won't be getting to enjoy this Christmas. So that's the connection between the pandemic and how the Grinch stole Christmas. And in celebration of that connection, we each brought shirts.
I have Cindy Lou Who.
And I have Max the dog. And what does your shirt say if they can't see it all? Because there's a lot of words on yours.
It says, in a world full of Grinches, be a Cindy Lou.
Look,
I'm not quite
Kitty
a Cindy
says
Lou.
your grand dogs can hear that squeaker.
Oh!
And Marilyn said you're alerting our dog with that squeak, Grinch. That is so awesome. I love that. Well, hey, this is a bit of trivia, and then we'll move into the biblical part of the devotion. But Max the dog, so I told you in 66 was the TV special, and in 2000 was the Jim Carrey live action one. And they cast, I was curious what kind of dog it was, so I looked it up, and it was a mixed breed dog that they got from a shelter, but because of the way Hollywood works, they needed 6 of them.
Wow.
So they rescued 6 mixed breed dogs from the shelter that played Max. And I'm wearing Max because he was very loyal and
Yes,
he was a servant.
He was a little servant doing everything.
That's me. That's me. I identify with that.
Not quite, just like I'm not quite Cindy Lou.
John Gannan is watching. Say, we played Dave Jorgensen singing The Grinch, and people thought that it was you, John Gannan. And I just want to do a quick plug. If you are living in Arlington and a part of Shepherd of Life, John Gannan is helping us this Sunday with our drive-in worship service. He's going to be singing with Eddie. So if you do enjoy John Gannan and it bolsters your faith, he will be there. So thank you, John, for your willingness to help us to do drive-in worship this coming Sunday.
That was a plug,
That was a plug.
an ad,
An
like putting
ad.
a Kleenex box here. Oh,
Right.
and by the way, Sunday morning at 10.
I know. I'm always...
Come on, let's go.
All right. So,
You can tell we've been together a lot of
all
months.
right. So we wanted to do 2 things. We wanted to acknowledge our losses this year and the hope that we have in spite of it. So let's acknowledge the things that we're missing out on, because this is not going to be a typical Christmas.
You want me to go first?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. What I'm going to miss.
What are you going to miss about
that
Christmas
the Grinch
this year?
stole? Well,
The Grinch/pandemic.
There is a kind of spiritual one, but then there's a fun one. Our family, with the exception of one, lives around here, and there are 13 of us when you count the grandkids, the son-in-laws, and all of us. And we always get together, and we still give each other little gifts, and we wrap a lot of them. So we use bags, but wrap. And what I miss is that, much to John, who's the neat person and wants to go around and open one by one, which drives the rest of us crazy. The rest of us just dig into our gifts and we throw all the paper in the center of the living room until it's pile high. And then at the end, you get to dive into the paper. Except John doesn't do it. And we're like in the snow, making snow angels. I miss that. On the serious side, we have 3 services usually on Christmas Eve, candlelight services. And we get a lot of visitors and family members, so it gets pretty crowded, and we have communion. And I've always helped John do communion that night, and I hand the wine and tell them the blood of Christ shed for you.
I'm glad you still remember the
I
words.
do remember the words. And honestly, there must be, how many people do we commune?
I guess in a lot of churches, Christmas Eve is like twice. No wait, for us,
It's 3.
it's like triple. So if our average worship attendance is like 225, 250, it's like double or triple that
It's
on Christmas
over,
Eve.
I would say over 5.
And that's probably true for a lot of
So I'm giving communion to really that many people because I go to every service and do that. And it is probably one of the most meaningful things I've ever done. I'm giving communion to friends. I'm giving communion to their family. I'm giving it to old friends that come back. I'm giving it to strangers I don't know. And to be able to look at each one of them individually and have 1 second of saying that to them is really, it's very meaningful to me.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the fun and the.
Yeah, and for me, and it's interesting, I credit this term to Pastor Mark Hadley, one of my partners in ministry, who shared with me that he is a grumpy optimist, and his wife, Linnell, is a happy pessimist. And I relate to being a happy pessimist. I'm a pessimist inwardly, but I'm happy outwardly. And Christmas Eve, holding our candles, singing Silent Night is, for me, like the one moment where the Hallmark card image of life that people hold up and love, that I make fun of and don't care for much because it doesn't seem to match what I see and experience in my own life, really seems to line up. So that's like my Hallmark card moment out of the year, is when I look around at the people that I love and care for. We're all holding our lights, our candles in the darkness, and we're singing Silent Night, and it's like the closest thing to magic that that I can count on. There's like so few things in life, right, that we can count on, and I count on that, and that won't happen this year. It doesn't mean it's still not true, but you just don't get that opportunity this year.
Okay, now
Okay.
let's get.
All right, so we just want to
Grinch
acknowledge.
stuff.
We just want to acknowledge that, of course, there's going to be things this year that we're all going to miss out on, and it's a loss.
We'll do it.
It's a loss. But we want to anchor it in the scriptures in a way that says to all of us, hello, that's the nature of this world, that's the nature of life, and in the very first Christmas, it's not like Joseph and Mary had a cakewalk. So I'm going to read for you just the first 7 verses of our scripture tonight. And it comes from Luke 2. In those days, a decree went out from Emperor Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration and was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and all went to their towns to be registered. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David, which was called Bethlehem, because he was a descendant from the house and family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged, and who was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child. And she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in bands of cloth, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn. Such a familiar, well-known, loved passage for us, and there's so many things you can take from it. But for tonight, for our devotion, what we want to highlight is the fact that some Christmases are hard, and it's not difficult to make connections to the fact that the very first Christmas was hard. Mary was like a teenager at the time, so she was so young to be dealing with all of this. And of course, when they it wasn't God or the star that inspired them to go to Bethlehem. It was the government. It was the law that they go to be registered. They had to travel from Nazareth to Bethlehem, and by the crow flies, that's about 70 miles. But the way the paths work, most historians think that it was probably closer to a 90-mile journey, which would mean that it was like 4 to 7 days. So fully pregnant, 4 to 7 days. And the interesting thing is that most of us visualize Mary on a donkey and Joseph walking beside. And maybe that's what happened. We don't really know. That's kind of an artistic rendering of their journey. But the Bible doesn't really say. But we do know this, that she's pregnant, about to have a baby, and they're probably on foot or close to it, traveling for days and days, so they're exhausted when they get there. And then, even though this is where Joseph is from, so this is like where his family's from, there's no mention of any of their family being around when the time comes and they need some help. And she has a baby. And even in ideal circumstances, having a baby, well, this is where I should stop talking. I can't imagine having a baby. So Christmas time and having a baby. I asked Ruth if she would talk a little bit about her experience having a baby.
And I went, no.
But there was one story you have shared before.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
and if Katie and Carrie are both watching, I love you dearly, and I'd go through it again. But they were both very big babies. I learned later that their father was a 10-pound baby. And so I told him when they were dating, ask him how big he was when he was born. Don't marry a guy who was a big baby. I should have asked. But Carrie was 8. When Katie came along, she was 10'6", and I gave birth at 10'6", and that wasn't a walk in the park because that was over 40 years ago. So consequently, they didn't have all the wonderful techniques they have now, and she even broke her collarbone when she was being born. I must have not been a happy camper because the doctor told me later he had never had a woman cuss as much as I did delivering. That he said, I heard words I'd never heard before, so I guess I have it in me somewhere, huh?
Yeah.
To be a Grinch.
Well, and so she's young, and they traveled for days and days on a long, grueling journey, which would be exhausting even without being pregnant, and then to go through childbirth and to have a baby and to have no family with you during that time. A difficult year, a difficult Christmas.
I may be jumping the gun here, but Christmas is, as we all know, and I'm sure men have their issue, but a lot of women, especially if they families, end up working their little fannies off for Christmas and getting everything to be Hallmark, and it's physically exhausting. Well, I'm speaking just for me. Maybe everybody else finds it. But there are days that you're just worn out. And my dad died, and my mom never, when I was a child, and my mom never remarried, so I had 2 sisters. And my mother raised us, and she loved Christmas, and she did everything at Christmas for us. But I honestly remember she would tell me she loved Christmas music so much that she would stay up all Christmas Eve and listen to the radio and listen to music, Christmas carols. And by Christmas morning, she was a Grinch from not sleeping. she was not always happy on Christmas morning. But I have to share a story about being Grinches and not realizing it. And when I was a kid, this happened. And to this day, I don't do that under the Christmas tree about gifts anymore. My mom, like I said, was a single mom, but she always had gifts for us. And we certainly lived poorly. And my mom never really had any gifts under the tree. And you know, we're young and you don't think about that. And one Christmas, we suddenly realized it when we were probably elementary and junior high age that Mom needs gifts. So we asked her, what do you want? And she said, oh, I need new underwear. You know, that's what she said. So we thought this would be just a lot of fun. And we bought a package of underwear and there were 7 in there. We took each one individually and wrapped it in different boxes and not what bags, but wrapped it. And we thought that was so funny, such a funny gag gift. And I remember that my mom, when she saw all those gifts for herself, I had never seen joy on her face like that. She just didn't know where it came from. She was so excited. And the minute she said, oh my gosh, I have 7, the 3 of us looked at each other and went, oh my God, we shouldn't have done that. And the first one she opened up and thought, oh, well, I needed that. And then by the second one, it was the same thing. And the third one, she never said anything to us, but her face just dropped over and over. And do you know, to this day, when it comes to gag gifts at Christmas, be careful. Because now, what's under the tree wrapped beautifully has to be a gift of love, because that taught me that early. That's what the Grinch would do. And, you know, we didn't mean to do it.
You didn't mean to, but you realized.
And I think people get tired, and now, especially when things are all changed around, you know, all of a sudden you're kind of gritty or something. But, you know.
It was a young time in your life to realize it, but I mean, now, being an older couple, what we realize is that, like Ruth's mom, we all need what she was excited about.
Yeah.
We all need that unexpected surprise and grace and joy and love and affirmation, and that I'm important and I'm special and I'm worthy of something extra and wonderful. I mean,
well,
we see it now.
I
We
remember
understand
having
it.
kids.
We all need it.
When my kids were little, I had stockings, and I filled their dads and the dogs and their stockings, and I guess no one noticed. And after about 3 Christmases like that, someone said, why doesn't Santa leave anything in your stocking? How do you explain that? You really have to be, it's a trade-off between giving and joyfully receiving, because you need both to make Christmas, right?
Yeah. So, and that kind of takes us where we want to end up, which is close to about 30 minutes. Remember, I thought around 30 minutes. It's where we wanted to end up was, of course, we believe that God was with Joseph and Mary during a very difficult time in their life. And as we celebrate God coming into the world through this couple and the baby that was born to them, we believe that God is going to be with each and every single one of us during this Christmas, which probably won't be the best Christmas you've ever had in your life, but that God often uses us to make that love tangible and real. So Ruth and I asked each other, so if indeed we're all kind of on the journey to Bethlehem during these next few weeks, what can any of us do to help our fellow travelers? Because there were other travelers on the road with them. What can we do for each other to help remind each other that we're not alone, that there is somebody aware of the heaviness that we are living with, and that notices and that it matters and that they love us, and that in spite of it all, there is a light that shines in this darkness. So we're hoping that maybe this devotion can inspire you to think of not just your losses, but the fact that by God's grace and through His Spirit, you might be able to help some of your family or friends or fellow travelers experience an unexpected bit of grace or joy that they didn't see coming.
And John always kind of gets outlandish
Yeah.
ideas, and I kind of rein him back into something a little. He suggested, let's just get some people and we can go caroling. And I went, no, don't you know singing puts out more of the virus, and you want to go to someone's front door and sing with other people. Anyway, I gently and not so gently went, So he has another one now.
I thought I had it all figured out, because it wasn't like we were going to be in cars together, that I would pick some folks who could maybe use some cheering up, and I would synchronize it and say, you all are traveling on your own, and we'll meet at this address at this time, and these are the 3 songs we'll sing, and we'll stand at a distance, and we'll all wear masks, but
Nope.
Nope.
I mixed that one. So we're making little fun gift bags to some people who are kind of having a hard Christmas, and we'll drop them off at their front door.
So that's what we're going to do. Ding Dong Dash, only a little gift bag, maybe an unexpected reminder that people know you and care about you and love you.
I think even knowing that there are going to be more Grinches probably, because everybody's living through Christmas differently, and sometimes they just need to vent, and you just have to listen. And sometimes, I'm kind of Grinchy about some things, no kidding. And you have to cut yourself some slack. We're living in a really unusual time, and everybody's trying to find their way. And I don't know, it's just all kinds of emotions get tied up. One of the things that I did early, because I'm very careful, and we're not getting together for Christmas and didn't get together in the house for Thanksgiving either. But I assure my family and my girls and grandkids that, don't worry, we'll be fine. I'm not going to put pressure or do the, oh, you're not coming. Mother would do that. You're not coming for Christmas, but I want to see you. Yeah, I don't do that. I tell them I will be fine. I will sleep in. I will listen to music. We will get together when we can really celebrate this. Please have Christmas in your homes, and maybe enjoy some family time with your kids in your little bubble. And all of us can get into the bigger family bubble when we can, but it's good for the kids to be home and not here sometimes,
Yep.
They need some memories, and I think they'll have good memories of times right
Hopefully.
now. I hope so.
That's our hope for all of you, that in the midst of a Christmas that won't feel, well, it absolutely won't be the same, and won't include all the things that you normally enjoy and love, that God will find ways to help you to know that the miracle is just as miraculous, the hope is just as strong, the love is just as eternal.
And
none of that changes.
Just so I'll have a joyful Christmas, I'm going to take a lot of wrapping paper and wad it up.
God.
And you're going to wake up and there's going to be paper all over the floor.
Yay.
And then you'll have to jump in it.
Yay.
Just once.
Yay. So I just want you to know that a couple of people like us are expressing the bittersweet nature of Christmas this year. We all get, from a faith perspective, that the promise hasn't changed, but there's still a little bit of loss and sadness, and you got to bring all that together in a closing prayer. I don't know how you're going to do it. The Lord be with you, Ruth. No pressure.
Okay. Heavenly Father, first of all, I thank you so much for helping the scientists to find a vaccine, and that there is light here. It may not be as quick as we want, but it's there. We're not looking at a dark abyss. Thank you for all the scientists across the world who have worked double speed in order to find ways for the whole world to be safe. And for that, I am grateful and very thankful. I also, when I get too upset about Christmas with my family, I remember of those who have loved ones in the hospital for all kinds of issues, and especially COVID. I think of the families affected and have lost this year, family members, and the sadness they will go through. And for all the medical teams that are working long hours and are exhausted, and that puts perspective for me. And always remind me, dear Lord, about those people when I get gritchy because I can't have a dinner with my family. It's very minor. Take all your angels and all your strength and help those who are dealing with this on the front line, and help us all to stay calm and to stay peaceful and look at Christmas lights and listen to Christmas music, and maybe take a nice evening and sit quietly, even by yourself with a candle, and just be, not thinking about anything. And when we encounter Grinches, help us to just listen to them. Sometimes that's all you can do because there's nothing we can do, only you can. And help us to give them hope. And when we're the ugly green Grinch, help us, first of all, to cut ourselves some slack and to know that it's hard for us too to go through this time, and that we're maybe not always at our best, but that you're always there for us. Whether we're a Grinch or we are helping Grinches like Cindy Lou, or just being a good servant like Max or Grinch, or all the Whoville people is kind of where we are right now. So bless us these next few weeks. Keep us with joy in our heart and hope in our heart, and know that there's just so many people we can love, even if it's not for family dinner. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Ruth Foster.
You're welcome, John.
So
Have a good week.
Yeah, have a good week. And to all of our fellow Who's out there in Whoville, Lord be with you. He loves you, so do we.
And we'll see you next week.
Yeah,
so
if it works out for you.
Have a merry little Christmas. We
We'll
might
talk
could
about-
bring out the bourbon and really have a merry little Christmas.
Have yourself
We
a
could
merry little
toast
Christmas.
everyone watching.
Oh my God. We're going to have to work on that one. Peace to all of you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.